Now, Iran is winning, Trump is losing, but I would not say America is losing. America, especially President Trump, goes on bluffing. And he bluffs more than any other world leader. The state of Israel holds the view that when it signs a ceasefire agreement, it means the other party has to cease firing, but not Israel. Is it courteous? Is it gallant on the part of President Trump to go on saying that she begged? No, sorry, President Trump. That is not, I repeat, that is not good manners. Good morning to listeners in India and good evening to, say, in America, and well, good morning again to friends in Europe, Africa, and elsewhere. Now, let me list the themes that we can discuss this time, provided there is enough time. First, corruption in Madhya Pradesh. Second, unsafe building, people getting killed. Third, Ras Laffan, the big accident. Next, Iran, US, Israel. Next, NEET, NEET. After that, Italy, India, and Bharatanatyam, FRRO. Next, artificial intelligence. Next, we all speak of GDP, gross domestic product. Well, let's also speak of gross domestic corruption, GDC. And last but not the least, if there is time, what happened to Sir Keir Starmer? Is that a reasonably good list? Dear friends, let us start. You must have read in the newspaper today about the land mafia in Madhya Pradesh. I saw it in the Indian Express. Speaks about Chief Minister's family. 245 plots, 245, valued 335 crores of rupees. Now, I said land mafia. Now, what is a mafia? According to the dictionary, highly organized, secretive network or syndicate of criminal. Well, it is not only highly organized, quite often it has contacts at high places. So highly organized and highly connected. We can add to the dictionary meaning. Now, it's an Italian word. It comes from a Sicilian. Sicily is a part of Italy, as we know, in the south. Adjective, mafioso, MAFIUSU. When I was ambassador in Italy, well, not that I had contacts with the mafia, but I read and learned a lot about them. And I would suggest, if you have not already read, to read the book The Godfather by Mario, MARIO, Puzo, PUZO, published in 1969. Now, question, is there a land mafia working in India? Is there? Well, we talked about the Delhi Gymkhana Club last time. There is a move to take it over. And as we know, the Racecourse Club has already been taken over. So this needs investigation. Now, let's move on about how safe are our buildings. Again, I read in the today's Indian Express, 15 human beings killed in Lucknow, building collapse. First and foremost, our condolences to the families, to the bereaved families. Question: why are these collapses occurring more frequently these days? What? Let us ask the Lucknow Development Authority, LDA. What has it been doing? It seems in 2016, this building was to be demolished. And then somehow that order was withdrawn. So is there corruption? Okay. Now, let us move on. We hear that 12 Indians have been killed in an accident in the LNG plant, Ras Laffan, Qatar. I had visited that many a time. Once again, our condolences to the bereaved families. Now, question: what compensation do the families get from government of Qatar and from government of India? Will the Indian media chase it? Let us hope they will. Now let's come to the big international item, Iran, US, Israel. We know of the talks in Bürgenstock, in a hotel owned by Qatar. Now, Iran is winning, Trump is losing, but I would not say America is losing, because I would say that America is winning, because America should get out of the mess that Trump, owing to his naive faith in Netanyahu, dragged America into. It is good for America to get out, and it's good for the rest of the world also, including India. Now, Iran can sell oil for 60 days, and we can buy. Of course, Iran has to keep the strait open. Well, there is a little problem with, I said little, but not a little, serious problem with the ceasefire in regard to Lebanon, because, the state of Israel holds the view that when it signs a ceasefire agreement, it means the other party has to cease firing, but not Israel. Israeli Defense Forces, the IDF, are permitted to fire whenever they think there might be a threat or attack from the other side. In other words, Israel's record of keeping to the ceasefire agreements it has signed is quite dismal. Now, Vice President Van, he says that Iran has agreed to accept IAEA, International Atomic Energy Agency inspectors. Iran has denied it. Now, this is funny, between Iran and America. America says Iran has agreed to something, say P. And then Iran says, no, we haven't agreed to it. But my guess is that Iran might have agreed to it. Only thing is that Iran would like that agreement to be confirmed and reconfirmed only towards the end, because that is Iran's negotiating technique. I suppose it is necessary. But one thing is clear. America, especially President Trump, goes on bluffing. And he bluffs more than any other world leader. Now, benefits for India, just want to mention. One, Chabahar. Now, Chabahar means 4 springs. That is the weather. You don't need air conditioning there. And we have already invested how much? $610 million. So we can go back if things work out. Second, the international north-south corridor. We are interested, because Pakistan doesn't let us move to Afghanistan and through Afghanistan to Central Asia. One more point, not mentioned by the media. During my time in Iran, 1976 to 1979, we had hundreds, thousands of Indian doctors, managers, and engineers. Now remember, there is a 300 billion reconstruction fund for Iran, which America and its allies, according to the memorandum, will arrange for. Well, India can do something. Of course, there will be competition. Pakistan will compete. Turkey will compete. But India stands a good chance. So basically, I'll put it this way. Remember we said last time that checkmate comes from the Farsi word shamat. The king cannot move. Now, Trump is getting checkmated in Iran by Iran. Now, that's a rare privilege, isn't it? And mind you, Trump signed that agreement, the physical copies, at Versailles. Macron suggested and Trump agreed. Now, Versailles, as we know, was constructed by Louis XIV. Louis XIV said in French, "L'État, c'est moi." The state, that's me. Now, we know that Trump agrees with that. He walked into the G7 plenary, making other heads of government, heads of states wait for him. And as he walked in, what did he say? "I am the boss." In fact, there is no G7. It is G6 plus 1. And that one is greater than those 6. So that is that. Now, let's say a word about the trade deal between India and the United States. Our Minister Piyush Goyal is telling us that everything is hunky-dory. Let's hope he's right. But we still should have some concerns and some fear that Trump will impose a bad deal on India. But let us hope that Indian diplomacy, at the level of the Foreign Secretary, at the level of our ambassador in Washington, at the level of EAM, Dr. Jaishankar, and at the level of the Prime Minister, Narendra Modi, will stand up to Trump's trumperies. At times he tries to cheat people. Now, let's move on to this calamity called NEET, N-E-E-T. Well, it is a matter of relief that the exams were held again, but you must have read about some dummies writing the exam, dummy racket, 30 of them held in Bihar. So that is that. But let me start by saying about the minister, Dharmendra. Minister Dharmendra's dharma is to resign, is to apologize to the students and to their parents. The sooner he does it, the better for him and for all of us. And if he postpones it, well, I suppose the Prime Minister may have to kick him out. Is there any need for NEET? Well, this has to be examined because Tamil Nadu says that there have been 3 suicides and Tamil Nadu wants exemption. Well, this is something to be considered. When you hold an exam for 24 lakhs, something can go wrong and there is scope for corruption. Now, let's move on to something else. And that is Italy, India, and Bharatnatyam. Remember, we witnessed with much admiration and joy the melodious visit of Prime Minister Narendra Modi to Italy, where Italy's Prime Minister received him warmly. And she said the other day that she and Prime Minister Modi are the most, popular couple in the Instagram, I think. Incidentally, Meloni and President Trump are having a quarrel. He says that she begged for a photograph. She has denied it. But let me make it clear. Even assume that she said, let's have a photograph. Is it courteous? Is it gallant on the part of President Trump to go on saying that she begged? No, sorry, President Trump. That is not, I repeat, that is not good manners. If a lady asks for a photograph, you should thank her and say that, my privilege. Okay, now the connection with Bharatnatyam. When I was in Italy as ambassador, from the University of Sapienza, a professor, he used to come to the embassy. He was trying to decipher the Indus Valley script. Now, his name will come back to me. Give me a few seconds or a few minutes. My memory is fading because it happened in the last millennium. Now, what I remember, another thing about him is that he once went to the airport taking his wife's passport with him. Of course, Italian airport authorities were amused and they let him go to Paris. Okay. Now, along with him, a student called Anna used to come. And, these two, the professor and Anna, used to do a lot to promote India-Italy cultural relations. And later, Anna came to Chennai and she had been dancing Bharatnatyam for the last 20 years. And recently, she completed her master's in Chennai and she wanted to do her PhD in Bharatnatyam. And what happened is that her visa was expiring on the 30th of June. And for the PhD, there is an entrance examination. And that is likely to happen only in July. So Anna wanted a brief extension of a visa. And she went to the FRRO in Chennai. Now, I'm sorry to say, the FRRO did not treat her properly. They exhibited a certain sort of xenophobia, unnecessary fear of foreigners. They treated her as though she is a national threat to India. Well, I spoke to some of my colleagues in the IPS and elsewhere. I spoke to a student of mine. He spoke to his friend, and the media also intervened. And finally, thank God, Anna has got her visa. But it is important that FRRO tried to stand in the way of Indo-Italian relations. Why? Why can't we give visa with a smile? rather than make the person come again and again and treat that person without the politeness India is famous for. Don't we say that Atithi Devo Bhai, the guest is like God, to be treated like God with respect? Well, that is that. Now, let us talk about AI. Now, it's a tool created by HI, human intelligence. Correct? Now, is AI an independent agency? No. But it can be autonomous if given instructions by HI. One example, it is possible to have autonomous lethal weapons. Let me give an example. It is possible to create a gun and give it the instruction, go to Kasturba Gandhi Marg in Delhi, start from India Gate, go towards Connaught Place, and shoot and kill all males who are more than 5 feet tall on the left side of the road and who are wearing a red shirt and have a mustache. Now, this autonomous lethal weapon is capable of doing it. But it works under ALS, autonomous legal weapons works under a human intelligence. Now, to understand AI, I would request you, if you have not already read it, read Mary Shelley's book, published in 1880. And the title is Frankenstein or the Modern Prometheus. Now, Prometheus is the one who stole fire, the secret of making fire from the gods, and gave it to human beings. Okay. Now, sometimes our people say Frankenstein is the name of the monster. No, it is, what shall I say? It is the Frankenstein is the name of the scientist who created the monster. In the story, Victor Frankenstein, he creates a monster. Okay? And this confusion should be avoided. In fact, there is a Frankenstein castle somewhere there, which Mary Shelley had visited. In fact, at IIC, India International Center, in 2018, I had organized a book talk on Mary Shelley's book at the time of its bicentenary. Question: is AI conscious? What do you mean by conscious? Well, I know that I am talking to you, and I know that I know that I am talking to you. In technical terms, a perception. So, does AI have that a perception or consciousness? I do not think so. Now, if it does not have that consciousness, can it ever have conscience? Let's make a distinction between being, knowing something and conscience, that is the knowledge of right and wrong. Okay? Now, will it ever have that knowledge of right and wrong? I do not think so. So, now what's happening with AI and jobs? Amazon has cut 16,000. Oracle has cut 30,000. Meta Salesforce, Cisco have been talking of cutting, and maybe they have cut already. Now, let me share an experience with you about the so-called AI. I have a credit card. Maybe out of courtesy, I should not mention from which company, but it's a Visa card. I won't tell you which bank has given to me out of courtesy. But when I talk to for some issue, this artificial intelligence is absolutely clueless. It just wastes time. In fact, this applies to some of the banking operations in the sense that, sometimes when you call the bank, this AI comes in the way. And I tell you one thing, one of these days, an economist who writes a thesis saying that AI has been over introduced into economic activities and he will get a Nobel Prize. Now, AI can be used or abused. Abuse has to be legally, I repeat, legally prevented. Any action taken? No. Sorry to say that. Especially AI can be misused for military purposes. There is not even any talk about it. Let's move on. We speak of the GDP, gross domestic product. Shouldn't we also speak of GDC, gross domestic corruption? Now, India's GDP is $4.15 trillion. Pretty high. But what is the per capita income? $2,813. Very low. Now people say that, if you take purchasing power parity, PPP, it is much better. Yes, it is slightly better, not much better. Because if you take PPP, India's GDP comes to about 4.5 times more than the nominal figure which I gave. Okay? That is 18.90 trillion. And the per capita income comes to 12,658. Well, is it a consolation? No. Why do I say that? Because how many Indians are poor? How many Indians are getting free ration from the public distribution system? 81 crores. 81 crores under the Pradhan Garib Kalyan Anna Yojana. So, what is the implication? 81 crores Indians are poor. So what's the point in India trying to be the fourth largest, the third largest economy in the world? Well, as of now, we are the sixth. Why? We went down because the rupee was going down. So that's not important. What is important? To remove poverty, to remove illiteracy, to give employment, to ensure law and order, to stop bulldozer justice or injustice, and above all, to stop or reduce corruption. Now, let us start with the Ram Temple. Investigation is on. That shows India is a self-correcting democracy. And that is the beauty of democracy. Now, the last point, or the last but one. The number of billionaires in India goes up. And according to the Forbes, it was 205, the number in 2025. And in 2026 is 229. Growth rate is 12%. Well, more than double the GDP growth rate. So, the last, absolutely last, what happened to Starmer? Well, let me tell you, I got the impression that he was not going to make it. because, he started by letting some businessman uh, give a trousseau, clothes, to his wife free. Can you imagine? And he started by letting some businessman let his son stay in his house or some building free. Now, can you imagine a prime minister doing it? And, his ability to put together a proper program to take the British economy out of the mess that it was in. He hasn't done it. And thank God he's on his way out. Let us hope the younger person, Andy, he will do well. And thank you for listening, for lending me your ears so graciously. Soon we shall talk again.